Hello all, welcome to today's session. So in today's session, we're going to be creating a transit gateway. So why do we have to go for transit gateway? See, every time you are creating your instance, so this is my instance, these are the instances which I have created and we have terminated. So I'm inside the Amazon AWS console. I'm currently under United States, Ohio location. So I can create my instances as many as I want, right? So every time I create an instance, there's going to be a default VPC or a custom VPC if you have created a VPC by yourself, which will be acting in the background to send and receive your traffic. So that's what we call as virtual private network. When we have two VPCs and when you want to establish connection between these two VPCs in a private way, which means you don't want any of the internet traffic, the external traffic to interfere between your VPCs, then we go for something called transit gateways. We already know what is internet gateway. So to enable your private or your public network to communicate with the external internet or the external network, we go for IGW, which is your internet gateway. That's a default gateway. Obviously, we're going to be enabling internet gateway. Only then your connection gets established. But to make it more secure, we are going to be attaching your VPCs and your instances with something called transit gateway. So let's see that in detail. So first, I am going to create my instance. So first go to your console. So you can launch your instance here. So before launching your instance, just go to your EC2 console. So go to your instances. So open your instances page over here and search for VPC. Right click and open it in a new tab. I have already opened my VPC, which is right here. You can see it here. Here you can explore the VPC here. This is going to show you the VPCs that you have created. My default VPC is 172.3.31.0.0/16, which will be the same value for any default VPC that is created. And the second VPC is my custom VPC. I've given the name to my custom VPC as my VPC1. And my CIDR block value is 192.168.1.0/24. So next thing, go to your subnets. You would be able to see all the subnets that gets created when you are creating your VPCs. So when you're creating your default VPC, automatically 3 subnets gets created by default. And upon that, I have created my own VPC, which is my VPC. And that's also gets created. And I have further divided my VPC into 4 subnets, where each of my subnets can run 59 instances. But in the default VPC, which is divided into 3 subnets, which is by default, can run 4091 instances in it. So those are the allocated or dedicated IPv4 addresses given to us. So that much amount of instances could be run. Anyhow, we're not going to be going in detail and we're not going to be launching that much number of instances, but let's discuss about it on smaller scale by creating 2 instances and running it on the VPCs and making them to communicate with each other with our transit gateway. So one more important thing that you have to remember is your route table. So just remember, every time you create your subnet, you always have, every time you create your subnet, you will always have your route tables created by itself. So what is a route table? So let's talk about it. Say there is a end user who is willing to communicate to any point in an internet. So it goes through the internet, right? So the source and the destination of your IP addresses has to be entered somewhere so that you are taking it in a proper way. So your source, destination, and the route through which your data packets or your traffic has to go, everything is inside your route table. You don't have to worry about the internal architecture, but everything is maintained and managed by AWS here. But remember, you have to know the tags of your route table here. If you miss the tags of your route table here, then when you're launching communication between your VPs, regional or intra-regional or inter-regional, it is not going to get booted. So just remember, you have to have the tags appropriately specified and differentiating your route tables of different VPCs. So I have the route table which has been named as my VPC123 and default VPC, which is already created when your default VPC is generated or launched. Okay. So the next important thing that you have to remember or we have to go through is your transit gateways and transit gateway attachment. Let's come to this later. So before that, let's go to our EC2 instance. I'm going to be launching my EC2 instance. So I'm going to be launching this default instance. I'm naming this instance as default. I'm going to be launching this instance in my default VPC. So select the image. So I'm selecting the Windows image. I'm going to select the free tier eligible option of Microsoft Windows Server 2022 base. So once you select it, you can see the change that happens here in your instance type. Which is T2 micro. Generate a key pair. Give the name for your key pair. So I'm giving the name as default key. Go ahead with creating your key pair. Just keep it in your downloads. So here is the important step that you have to remember. Go to the edit option in your network settings. So I told you we are going to be launching this instance in our default VPC, which is by default given by the Amazon itself. So click on that. So there are various available zones here, right? So just remember whichever zone you are clicking or selecting, you have to map the same in your transit gateway attachment. So just make a note of it. So here I'm going to be selecting 2A availability zone. Enable your IP, auto assign public IP, and go ahead with launching your instance. So by the time this instance is getting launched, let's go launch our next instance. I am going to be opening it in a new tab. Launch instance. So I'm going to launch this instance on my custom VPC, which is the VPC that I created. I'm going to name my instance. So this is just a name. It is a variable. You can give any name you want. I have just named it just to make myself understand which instance belongs to which VPC. So Windows Custom is the name that I'm giving. I am choosing the Windows image here. So I'm going to choose the image that I want. So generate your key pair. Giving the name as custom key. Create key pair. So just keep it in your downloads. So again, the important phase comes here. So I'm going to be launching my instance in my custom VPC, which is the VPC that we created. So the name of my VPC is my VPC. Again, the second important step that you have to remember is your subnet. Just remember in which zone you're going to launch your instance, because we have to map it here in your transist attachment. So I'm going to launch it in 2A, which would be under my first subnet. Enable your auto assign IP. That's it. Launch your instance. So by the time your instance is getting launched, just go ahead and check whether your first instance has passed the checking criteria and verification. So yeah, so we have our default instance which is getting initialized. So this status check has to move from initialized to 2x2 check. Yeah. Yes, it has passed the check. So I'm going to close this tab. I'm going to go to the instances. Here I can find the other instances even which I have created. Just go to view all instances. So the instance is getting launched. Go view all instances. Okay, I have created it twice, so I'm able to see my instances twice over here. So to avoid confusion, I'm just gonna go ahead with deleting the previous instance I had created. Let me just proceed with the current instance I initiated. So obviously the key is also going to get changed when you're creating new instances. So just remember that you are downloading it and giving the names of your key pair with different combinations so that there's no ambiguity in it. So you can see here, so my instance named win default is running, and it is in the availability zone UA East 2A, and my win custom named instance is in initialization phase, which will it will just or update now. So it will get changed to 2 by 2 checks passed. So it is under UA East UA availability zone. Just keep refreshing it. Let's keep this aside. Now let's go to the VPC. So we just saw, right? We have to go to Transist Gateway. I have my gateway which is already created. So let me just show you how to create a new gateway. So go, give your gateway name, give any description about your gateway. So just leave this aside. Don't do any modification over here. Just leave it aside and go ahead with create transist gateway. So this transit gateway will get created, which I already have in my transit gateway. You can see here. Once this step is done, immediately go to your transit gateway attachment. So these are the attachments which I had already practiced and I had deleted it. Why? Because you will be charged for your transit gateway and transit gateway attachment on hourly basis. You wouldn't be charged for your VPNs, your subnet or route tables, or your internet gateways even. But you would be charged for your transit gateways, transit gateway attachments, and NAT gateways. So I'm going to go with create transit gateway attachment, give the name of attachment, attachment 1, choose your transit gateway which we just created, which is TGW1, choose the VPC, your virtual private cloud, on which you are about to initiate the communication to the other VPC. So you would be having your VPC ID. Here, you're supposed to click which VPC you're supposed to attach this transit gateway to. So first, let's attach it with the default. So remember, I told you, you have to be sure about the zone in which you had created your instance, right? So by default, all your subnets are or checked in, right? You're not supposed to click all the subnets. So if you click it and if you launch your instance, everything will work fine. But when you're trying to initiate your server, when you're connecting the server, it wouldn't get booted. you would get an error with remote access is not accessible. So in which zone we had created our default instance? So we have a default instance here, right? So in which zone we created? 2A. Remember? So uncheck the other two subnets. So just check the subnet which is going to be having your instance and to which you are going to establish your VPC connection. So now go ahead with create transit gateway attachment. So now your first attachment is ready. Refresh your tab. You can see here the status is still pending. It should get changed from pending to available, which means it is actively available for you to get connected or to establish your connection. So meanwhile, let's create another transit gateway attachment, because we are basically enabling two VPCs to connect with each other. One is your default VPC and the other is your custom VPC. So we had created a transit gateway attachment 1 for your default VPC. Now you have to create transit gateway attachment 2 for your custom VPC. So TWDG attachment 2. So your transit gateway ID is going to be the same for both the attachments and both the VPCs. Select VPC. So don't do any modification over here except go with your VPC ID, choose the second VPC to which your connection has to be established. So which is what? My VPC 1. So be careful, you have to choose the subnet availability zone here. So go to your instance, so our second instance is also available now. Check on which location availability zone your instance is running. It is East 2A. So just keep that in the list. So uncheck the other boxes. Now go ahead with creating your transit gateway attachment. Okay, now we can see the first attachment we created is available for us. The second attachment is in pending. So just wait for it to change from pending to available state. Keep refreshing the tab. So in our first step, we went to the transit gateway. We created the transit gateway. In our next step, we created the attachment to the transit gateway where we selected the VPC ID and we selected the subnet. So that's the important thing you have to remember. And the third important step that you have to do is to edit your route table. So let's wait for the status to change from pending to available. Now the state is changed from pending to available. Let's go to the route table, which is under your virtual private cloud. Click on your route tables. So there are many route tables available here, right? So this is the route table for my default VPC, and this is my route table for my custom VPC. Just be sure about which route table you have generated, or it got generated when you created your VPC. So this custom VPC route table was created by me. So for some other purpose, so I'm not going to be using this. So say in case you have edited your routes in a different route table and you're trying to establish the connection, then again you would be popped up with a notification that your remote server is inaccessible. So please remember that you're supposed to have the appropriate route table editor. So first I'm going to edit my default route table, so which is under my default VPC. Go to Actions, Edit Routes. I already have all my routes edited. So you can add your route, click the route or the destination to which your traffic has to go, and come to the drop down. So there are various options available here, right? Internet gateway, NAT gateway, and all those. So here you're supposed to click Transit Gateway. Once you select your transit gateway, you are supposed to select the attachment here, which I had already done here. I'm not going to be doing it now again because I've already initiated the connection. And just remember, you're supposed to initiate your internet gateway even. So again, go to Add Route, click on the first option, select Internet Gateway here, click the Internet Gateway which is given, and you can save the changes. Go ahead, save change. I have already edited my routes, and that's why it is notifying me that there are no changes to be included. Here, go to the second route table, which is your custom route table. The VPC that you created, we created by ourselves, not the Amazon's VPC. Go to Actions, go to Edit Routes, add the route to which you are supposed to get connected, which is what? Your default VPCs, CIDR, which is 172.31.0.0/16. So that should be a transit gateway, which means it should be a secure gateway that is going to be enabling the traffic flow only between the VPCs in the AWS. And select the TW attachment, include your internet gateway, save changes. I haven't made any changes. I had already done, and hence it is showing me this way. So cancel it. Now the routes are ready. So remember, first we created a transit gateway, and then we created two attachments. One is for the default and the other one is for the custom VPC. And then right from all the way you have to go to your route table, choose the appropriate route table, edit the routes, give the respective VPC's destination, add your IGW, your transit gateway, save the changes. That's it. Now it's all done. Now your instance should be able to run, and your custom instance should be able to run from your default instance. So you have two VPCs running two instances. So your default VPC is running default instance, which is your Windows default, and your custom VPC is running your custom instance. So let's run it and let's just see. So I'm going to execute my default. Go to Connect. Download your RDP client. Just keep it here in your downloads. Get the password. Upload your private key. So just remember your key, Every time you're uploading, decrypt the password, copy the password, go to your downloads, open your RDP desktop, connect with it, give the password. So now your instance is initiated. It's launched. Sorry, it's connected. We had launched it and now we had connected it. Let's wait for it to get booted. Obviously, it will take some time because we are hosting it on a different data center which is far away from us, which is in Ohio region, US. So now minimize your first instance, go to your instances, select your custom instance, which we are about to run from our first instance through something called remote desktop option. So you have to remotely run it from your one server. So, and we are establishing the connection that way. So I'm going to connect this instance. Don't download your RDP client. Just get the password, upload the private key. This is my private key. I am decrypting the password. See, we have the private IP here, right? We are supposed to run with the private IP now. So how to find or how to know that you've executed your instance 1 and instance 2 properly, that you have established your transit gateway, transit attachment, and your route table and your VPC appropriately. So you would be notified with something called private IP over here. So if you don't get it over here, then you can be sure that you had made some mistake in mapping your instances with the appropriate subnet in your transit gateway. So just remember that. So every time you open your instance, make sure you're opening your VPCs in your neighboring tab and mapping your appropriate subnets and the availability zones. So copy your private ID, go to your first instance, so just type remote desktop connection, click on your remote desktop connection, connect with your custom instance. So it will be asking for the credentials. So where are those credentials? It's here in your second instance, which is your custom instance. So just copy your username, paste it here, copy your password, paste it here, click on OK. So your second instance, which is in your custom VPC, is connected with your first instance now. It's getting booted. So where will you find your second instance? Just drag your tab that's on the top end of your system. Just drag the second instance and drop it down over here, just like this. So have to know that you have successfully created your second instance. You've successfully established the connection. You should be able to run the private IP of your second instance from your first instance. So what's the private IP here? 192.168.1.4. Let's just check it here. That's the private IP here. So that's about your transit gateway. So if you have done the same procedures, whatever the procedures that we had seen till now, with just internet gateway, that is going to be a common internet connectivity scenario. But when you have a transit gateway, we have a more secured connected scenario between the VPCs. So now everything is done. So just make sure you're supposed to clean up all your transit gateways, attachments, and the instances, because your transit gateway charges you for whatever you're creating it on hourly basis. So first, let me just terminate the instances. Just click Cloud Terminate. So this instance will get terminated. Once that is done, so your desktop wouldn't be available once you terminate your instance. Click on OK. Go to your VPC console. Just leave your VPC subnets and route tables, because this is not going to get charged. You're not going to be charged for these. So we can use it throughout our laboratory sessions whenever we are working with our VPCs and further more topics. So go to Transit Gateway. So I'm just giving you a quick hint over here. You wouldn't be able to delete your transit gateway unless you've deleted or terminated your transit gateway attachments. So now if you try to click on your transit gateway, go to the actions, delete transit gateway, you wouldn't be able to do it. Has non-deleted attachments, and it is listing you the non-deleted attachments here. Close it, go to your transit gateway attachments, click the transit gateway attachment you're about to delete, go to actions, delete transit gateway attachment. Type delete, go ahead with terminating the transit gateway attachment too. So the state is changed from available to deleting now. Go to your second attachment, actions, delete transit gateway attachment. Type delete. So the state has changed from available to deleting in both the attachments. Just wait for the status to change from deleting to deleted. Only then you would be able to delete your transit gateways. So immediately when you go to your transit gateways, right after deleting here and your status is still deleting, you wouldn't be able to delete it. So keep refreshing the page. This will take some time because we are literally making some modifications in the VPCs on a different zone totally. So this is again a huge number of or set of codes that gets executed, and there are some set of algorithms which executes these codes. So obviously it will take some time, how much ever fast your internet might be. So now the state is deleted. So now you can go to your transit gateways. Now, if you perform deletion operation on this, Yes, you would be able to do it. The state is deleting still. You have to wait patiently till it goes to deleted. So this will change to deleted. So that's how we work with transit gateways, and that's how we establish communication between two VPCs. And just remember, establishing the communication between two VPCs are regional, not like your VPC pairing where you can communicate with other region VPCs, intercommunication, intra communication, and all those are possible. But this is regional. So I still have my VPC running. My subnets are still here. My route tables are still here. I don't have to worry because I wouldn't be charged for it. So that's about transit gateway in your VPC. Thank you all. See you in another session. Take care. Bye bye.